Well, have you learned enough about Adam? I don't believe I've heard that much in my whole life, and I'm looking forward to reading it again. But we also need to know more and think more about the spiritual father of our own time. And so I hope you're not tired of hearing about Joseph Smith. We'll have some unique aspects here today maybe that we can consider, but first we look back on last year and we see that it was really quite a time for Joseph. Before 2005, I suspect that Brigham Young was far better known than Joseph Smith, certainly to historians and to those who read Western books. But 2005 changed all of that, starting with a series of seminars, the Library of Congress being most notable. Studies of Joseph went around the world, literally. He made the cover of Time and Newsweek magazines. Wonderful books were written during the year. Claudia Bushman, who's been here throughout the day, actually was one of those responsible for mounting a heroic bronze statue in a very prominent place in a park in Manhattan, of all places. So he is now being known for good and evil throughout the world as he never has been before. Well, from my years of research, as you've just heard, I've gained a new and deeper appreciation for what he had to endure despite years of unrelenting legal proceedings. Let's do this now. He, as you know, faced many tribulations throughout his life, and in fact his ministry was shadowed the entire time through a series of legal proceedings which resulted in his incarceration and ultimately his death. The team that I'm on with the Joseph Smith papers, and some of the members are here in our group, have identified approximately 175 lawsuits that he was involved in one way or another. Suits brought against him, or that he had to bring against others, or that he was a witness in some cases, or as judge. Yes, in Nauvoo, he was judge, the presiding judge of the municipal court, and was the mayor's, was the justice of the peace for the mayor's court. So all of these took time and assets and a great deal of attention. Any of you who have ever been involved in a lawsuit or have friends or family who have been know that it is draining, totally, all-consuming. Lawyers spend night and day preparing for their cases, and while it was different 150 years ago, you could have a charge brought one day and the case heard the same day or the next day. Still, it was a very demanding process. We'll focus just a little bit now. This is a panoramic survey, really. We don't have time to spend a lot of detail on any of these cases, but there were approximately 50 cases which he had to defend, which were brought against him as criminal charges that could have taken his liberty or his life, and actually finally did. From the very beginning, the Lord warned Joseph when he was called to the ministry that he would need to be patient in his afflictions, for he would have many, and that he should keep the commandments and he would be glorified even if he should be slain, and finally, even if they should do unto you as they have done unto me, blessed are you, for you will be crowned with glory. Now that's quite a way to start your mission. He said he got used to swimming in deep water, and that was certainly true from the legal aspect. The first of the cases brought against Joseph actually started the year before his ministry, you might say. His ministry actually began when Moroni visited and then brought the plates. Here he is at age 20 in 1826, and this is a rather notable case. A lot of print has been spilled on this case, and it's thought by some even today that it turned out badly for Joseph. There are 3 accounts of this case, and 2 of them were by medical doctors who were bystanders, and one was by the justice himself, the justice of the peace, who kept some notes, and his niece inherited those, and they were finally published about 50 years later during the peak of the polygamy persecutions. This case came in Harmony, when he was living in Harmony, Pennsylvania. That's one of several oxymorons that I'll mention here. And earlier someone mentioned the cases, the documents that have been found in a basement in a New York jail. A justice of the peace named Neely first made record of People versus Joseph Smith and described him as the glass looker. Now that was not the criminal charge, but actually it was a form of disorderly conduct, a misdemeanor. Under the statute of the time, it was for falsely pretending to discover lost goods. Now, in one of the versions, actually the one that the niece inherited from the justice, the way it supposedly comes out is that he was arrested, posted bail, jumped bail, had to be rearrested, brought back, was convicted, and then either exiled or allowed to escape. Joseph himself, before we get to Constable Dzang, Joseph himself kept an account saying that for some period during this winter of 1826, he and his father were hired by Josiah Stoll, who had an old Spanish treasure map and knew that these men were good hard workers, but also heard that Joseph had some supernatural gifts, the ability to discover things that had been lost. After about a month of working hard looking for this treasure, Joseph, according to his mother's history, finally discouraged Josiah Stoll and he gave the whole thing up. While they didn't discover that buried treasure, he discovered his greatest treasure in life, which was his wife Emma. He was then living with the Hales. Now, according to Dr. Purple, one of the two medical doctors who also published his version of this, what Constable Dzang actually meant by what he said here, serving a warrant on Joseph and 12 witnesses and then attending with the prisoner for 2 days and then 10 miles of travel with a minimus to take him, wasn't to take him out of the jurisdiction and exile or expel him, but to take him to the hearing. Now the result of this, according to Dr. Purple, is that these 12 witnesses testified, including Joseph and his father and Josiah Stoll and several others. Stoll was the last witness, and he was supposed to clinch the case for the one who brought the charges, a disgruntled nephew who thought that Joseph was cheating his uncle. But Josiah Stoll turned the tables and came to Joseph's defense, vindicated him as a hard worker who never did what he wasn't paid to do. And so he was discharged, according to Dr. Purple. We think that he was vindicated and discharged. Gordon Madsen has spent a lot of time studying this case, and he has 10 other reasons why he thinks he was acquitted and not convicted. This was the first case, and the closest call, you might say, to a criminal conviction. Now, the next year, Joseph received the plates. The ministry begins at age 21. And the next case is the following year, and there is not time to discuss the intricacies of that case, a very interesting case. We know that the first 116 pages were lost, and they were taken by Martin Harris to show people that had to be convinced that he was not wasting his time or money. One of those was his wife, Lucy Harris, and as it turns out, she's the one who sues Joseph for cheating her husband, but I won't get into that one. The church is now restored in April of 1830, and just 2 months later, and we have the priesthood restored in the first baptisms, which did not include Emma. She was still back at Disharmony or Harmony, Pennsylvania. And so Joseph goes down to baptize her and the Joseph Knight family and several others in the same area. So this next case comes when they had just completed the baptisms. The mob had about 50 vigilantes had torn out a dam where they had performed the baptisms, and they were successful in disrupting the confirmations. Joseph once said that you might as well baptize a bale of hay as to baptize a person without the confirmation for the gift of the Holy Ghost. Now, a constable came with a writ to arrest Joseph for, again, disorderly conduct, disturbing the peace. And this time it includes setting the countryside in an uproar by preaching the Book of Mormon. Now, the constable was part of a plan to do some harm to Joseph. He was supposed to get Joseph away from his friends, put him in a wagon, and then as they get out of sight around a bend, he was to slow down so that those who were lying in wait could come out and ambush him.